Uh, Great. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to introduce all of you to our guest for today. His name is Nikhil Chainani, and he is the mind behind Suitable AI. Now, he's a creator of Suitable AI, which is a B2B talent sourcing platform which is available globally, which sort of connects the businesses with top recruitment agencies to find the best talent quickly and efficiently. He's also deeply passionate about helping students. Now, Nikhil has founded a career interaction forum, leading a team of 25 plus students to organize mentorship programs, corporate sessions, and internships to guide students in shaping their career paths. With experience in strategy, product, and business development, Nikhil brings valuable insights into how AI and mentorship are transforming careers today. We're so excited to hear his journey and advice throughout this podcast. Uh, yes, if you would want to, give a short introduction about yourself, Nikhil, that the viewers can sort of get an idea of who you are as a person and sort of what led to you sort of creating Suitable AI.
Sure. Thank you, Arpit, for the kind words and kudos to Event Deep. I have known Raki and Saurabh for a long time now. I wish you guys all the best in your journey. Having said that, Suitable is not just my vision. It is the vision of me and my co-founders and the investors and our customers and our team. So it's a combined vision. Uh, as far as I am concerned, I do feel that talent, resources, and manpower is one of the most important assets of any organization. And the race to get to that will always be, highly competitive. And that is true for any sort of industry and sector, be it automobile, semiconductors, medical devices. The sectors might keep changing. And I wanted to work in the hiring space since the probably the start of my career. I started my journey as an investment banker, but very soon I started shifting into this. Initially, yes, you are right. I was more into student mentorship and, trainings of freshers for landing their first jobs. But then I realized I have to understand the other side of the table as well. So we quickly moved and jump shipped to help companies hire the best talent out there. So I can safely say I understand, a little bit about both the stakeholders. And I also believe that me and my co-founders are very passionate about leveraging elements of AI ML in improving the current processes which involve hiring. And we are taking a bet on AI long before AI became very popular. So we have been working on AI and models and LLMs and data sets since 2017. Back then, compute was a challenge. Even today it is, but right now we have trained LLMs ready to get deployed. So I believe that if any company or any person or any agency for that matter is able to crack the flow of the hiring process and, you know, drastically shorten the time it takes to find the right talent, there is a huge market opportunity as, talent is, like I said, critical for every company out there. So right now we believe, I personally believe we are at the cusp. We are at an inflection point, and the future belongs to AI agents and AI workflows. And we are proudly, poised to, bring out that change in hiring domain. When I talk about the Indian market, so we are a front runner in that, and we are working hard to, pass on that benefit to our customers. Yeah.
Great, that's lovely to hear from you, Nikhil. I mean, you did mention that hiring has become a challenge nowadays, right? And the person who reaches to candidates in a quicker way is sort of the winner in the race amongst all, right? So, I mean, can you share a bit about your journey in AI? Like what exactly drew you to this field? Why AI specifically?
Right. So I'll just quickly go and give you a retrospective example. I was
Sure.
working in Nomura as an investment banker, and I was having a shift in the London time zone, although I was in the India office. So I used to come, my work used to start around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, in the afternoon. And I used to work late because 12 o'clock at night, 12 a.m. in India, London got over. Sometime, most of the times it got delayed as well. Now, what happens in any organization? Let's say a fresher is applying. Even when I applied, my resume was manually screened and sourced by someone on the floor, right? Some analyst or someone senior. Similarly, when I was working, I also used to get a bunch of resumes, let's say 100 resumes to source and screen. Now, when you talk about any big company, any MNC, they get thousands of profiles in a day, right? Now, someone is manually sourcing them. Now, you imagine someone like me who is working, 80 hours, 70 hours a week. How much time will I actually spend in screening a resume, right? I will just probably less than 5 seconds, right? Now, that is what was the point that hit me. Now, a resume might be a piece of paper, but it is someone's effort over the past, whatever 20 years of their life. You
Absolutely.
can't just give it 5 seconds to judge, right? So this was back in the day when resumes were still honest and no one kept stuffing them with everything. But still, it required great degree of manual effort. So, of course, the process is inefficient. It leads to leakages. Then, when with the advent of AI, ML, more such tools online, there are companies helping you to format resumes. Now, every resume is near to perfect, right?
Right.
So, even if the resume has everything, it will probably pass on any system. So, technology adapts because people start hacking it. So, there was a technology to screen resumes, then people started using technologies to make resumes so that it can hack the current technology. Now, what happened? Now, most companies don't trust resumes.
Hmm.
They want us and agencies and staffing companies to do one level of screening. Now, how many resumes can you screen? And I'm also trying to, related to how the startups evolved. Initially, there were startups to prep students for interviews. Then there were startups to make people, ATSs came in to score the resumes. Then
Right.
there are startups to help people to make resumes. And then another wave of startups came. One of my very good friends, Rahul, he has a company called Interview. I think they came on Shark Tank also. So these guys provide interview as a service, right? And there are a lot of companies which made money on that because screening became critical because everyone had the perfect resume. Now, what we are doing, or now how the journey is evolving, is screening of with manual process or humans is not scalable. How many hours can I dedicate, right? Or how many hours can anyone dedicate manually? So now AI screening is happening. At Suitable, we literally have trained AI on Indian voices in Indian accents which talks to the candidate like I am talking to you and does one level of screening. There are a lot of good US companies, Apriora, Tezi, who have been heavily funded, and now you will see in the future that even the interviews, the first level initial screenings are done by
AI
AI
itself.
agents.
Yep.
So now the thing is, that is how the hiring process have evolved. And as new technology comes, people find a way to hack that, and then it is to be topped by another new wave. But now I think we have reached a point where, for example, Suitable, we conduct thousands of AI interviews every single day for our companies. It increases our reach and helps us find that right talent. And we will continue to be doing so till the time people are not able to hack it. Once they are able to hack it, probably we'll have to improve our technology. So this is typically how the hiring landscape has evolved. And just to answer your question, this is the future. I mean, this is how it will keep on going in the future as well. Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, interesting. I mean, so just wanted to understand next is what has been the most rewarding moment for you while you were building Suitable AI?
There have been many. Every customer that you win and every customer who has your candidate hired by you deployed it gives you a sense of gratification. I particularly also feel hiring is a noble business. It creates a win-win opportunity. For example, an Indian company hiring for a Indian customer where a human gets placed, an Indian person gets placed and they make money and they spend money in India. So technically, you are building for the country, right? And now when we are doing it globally, now we have Indians who are on contract of suitable AI, or on contract of other clients on our payroll. So now you're bringing foreign currency in. So rewarding is when you go in and client, for example, we work a lot with automobile sector. There's a
Mhm.
very like one of the biggest bike manufacturers, right, in India, very famous. With the name starts, I can't actually tell you if we have an NDA, but
Right.
uh, they are launching EV bikes, right? So the moment it comes in an auto expo, or comes on the road, we'll be very proud to say that yes, our resources are deployed. We also work in aerospace and defense. So most of our resources work on fighter jets or missiles. So it kind of, when these resources get placed, yes, we do make money, but it's very gratifying. Apart from that, yeah, when AI got implemented, it was again very good, because now we have candidates who have accepted to talk to AI. Like, we have candidates who have taken 20 minutes interviews with AI. So it gives us immense satisfaction that yes, uh, candidates are accepting of that, and people are literally liking that interview process. That experience is not getting downgraded, and so our clients are also liking that. So that kind of helped us push our limits and increase our reach. And yeah, when resources are working on clients' locations, that gives you tremendous gratification as well. Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, you did mention that candidates are liking interviewing with an AI, right? Talking to an AI. I'm sure you have reached that stage now, but initially, when you started with Suitability, I think that might have been one of the challenges, right? To get the
Yes.
candidates interview the AI. So,
Yes.
did you face any similar challenges like this, or if yes, then how did you overcome them?
Right. So, uh, of course, there was no AI from day one. You are absolutely right. But still, we had manual recruiters screening the candidates. We always put a lot of effort on screening, because sending out irrelevant profiles to client is the last thing that you want. Trip. It is wastage of time. So initially, recruiters used to take just basic screening. So screening is of two types. One is technical, one is non-technical. Non-tech includes notice period, CTC, preferred location, expectation, what's whether the work aligns with you, designation and all. Technical is, yes, if I'm hiring a Java developer, I'll probably want them to write some lines of code or tell me about a logical problem or something like that, right?
Right.
Now, a manual recruiter can specialize in a specific domain. You
Hmm.
can't expect a recruiter to be hands-on. For example, in automotive, we need calibration engineers who are calibrating an engine, or in aerospace, we need people who make avionics, the software which controls the flight mechanism. Or in medical devices, we need people who understand how respirators work or laryngoscopes work, right? Now, these are very different domains. Now, a single human can't do that. So, earlier, people used to have specialized recruitment teams. For example, when we started, we were only catering to IT service customers, because that is one domain which we understand.
Hmm.
But and therefore, the screening was restricted to that. Candidates were still talking. So, what we took when we were doing it for the first 3 years, we had stored all that data. We have recorded all the calls. That was the input for our LLM to be trained on. Even today, we have human calls. I'm not saying all the calls are done by AI, but all the calls are stored and recorded, and it acts as a training model for our LLM to get trained on. That After that, we had to train it in Indian accent so that the candidate relates to the voice. But I have observed that when we started it, initially people were not even able to make out whether they are talking to AI and all, because the LLMs are improving very fast.
Hmm.
We are using a mix of our LLM as well as models out there. It is not just one model that we are using, OpenAI or Claude. It's a mix, right? Then voice models came in, like 11 Labs or Retail. These things also help. So it's a stitched model which makes it sound more human. Having said that, one interesting thing is, if you tell someone that yes, an AI is going to interview you, versus an AI randomly calls and talks to them, uh, surprisingly, the people are more open when you tell them already that an AI is going to call you, right? So uh, they are like we have not seen any resistance so far. In fact, if a candidate is in office and let's say they are not free, or let's say for freshers, if they are in class, a human calls, they say, okay, I'm free after 7 o'clock. The human won't call them after 7 o'clock because their shift also ends.
Right.
But an AI can. So AI can call on weekends, AI can call on holidays, AI can take your time. So, acceptance from the candidates has increased. Plus, a human calling every candidate every day makes the job very boring. Sometimes everyone is not that patient, but AI is. So AI will give you the time if you are explaining what your job role was. AI will listen to you. It will drill down. One challenge is the cost. AI is costly.
Hmm.
So it costs a decent amount of money for 1 minute call. So the larger the call, the more expensive it is. Having said that, we are betting on the fact that as technology advances, for example, telephony, when initially telephones came, the bills were humongous.
Hmm.
When data came, the bills, and slowly, the cost tapers down at
Tapers
scale.
down. Yeah.
Similarly, with AI, it will happen that as compute increases, as the technology advances, the cost will slowly come down, and probably it will come down to that of a human calling, right? Right now, it is almost 10x expensive than a
Okay.
human calling, right? So it's quite expensive. But yeah, we are still doing it. Also, there are certain niche roles. For example, we are helping a UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle manufacturer, making weaponized drones to launch in India. They are setting up their GCC in India. Now they need a team of 120 people with a lead. uh, it is a very specific role. The person
Hmm.
needs to understand UAV and defense and missile. I don't think like a human can anyway screen it. Like
Right.
a person, humanly, it is not possible. So now it has increased our reach to companies which were earlier, even beyond our imagination to cater. So yeah, the results are coming, and therefore I feel while there are challenges, it is not very significant. It will be, and the day is not far when a lot of people start getting calls from AI for their interviews. Like if I'll see it happening in the next 1 2 years.
That's great. Good to hear that, Nikhil. So, I mean, freshers hiring in 2025, it's all about that, right? So, how do you see the hiring landscape evolving for freshers in the coming years specifically?
So when I started my career, yes, we were focused a lot on freshers. Now, as we have moved with our experience and the type of clients we cater, we mostly work on lateral hiring. Having said that, fresher hiring is still one of the biggest sources of hiring, in India for a lot of companies. I feel a lot of new roles are coming. When I talk about tech, AI trainers, for example, due to advancement in AI models, every company is implementing AI, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A new job is created of training the models, labeling the data sets. For example, if I have to train my model on interview recordings, you need someone to manually listen to recordings, train that this part is dead. AI makes
Okay,
mistakes. For example, it can probably call your name wrong or pronounce it wrong. You need someone to correct it, right? So AI training jobs for freshers is one of the fastest and most rewarding jobs globally. Like even if you work on see global platforms like uh, Upworks or Fiverr and all these things, it pays you around $80 to $120 an hour. But it requires a degree of patience to listen to AI or label it.
right,
Apart from that, there are few new industries which freshers should target. For example, semiconductors. Semiconductors, India has recently there was a semiconductor conference in Greater Noida. A lot. So semiconductors primarily help in operating any technology equipment, like from our phones to laptops to cars. Technology is coming in everything. So
right,
semiconductor silicon need is rising. Semiconductor concentrated to Taiwan region, right? So a lot of companies from there were making semiconductors and exporting it to the world. But that, in COVID, we saw that when China restrictions happened, chips were a big problem and it led to increased cost. So
right.
now India is setting up its own manufacturing of semicons, and a lot of companies are coming up. Even Nvidia, which is world's largest, one of the fastest growing semiconductors company, supplying to AI compute like OpenAI, they are also setting up their offices. Reliance is coming up with an entire office in Jamnagar. So there are a lot of opportunities getting created. So my advice to freshers is start seeing the trends. The
Hmm.
jobs that you see for the past 2 years, analyst roles and all these roles, research analysts, probably there will not exist after 2, 3 years. Content writers, these jobs will go away definitely because AI will take it over. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open. You have to see the emerging sectors, see what conferences are happening globally. I would have not advised this probably 5 years ago. I would have advised to see your seniors where they are working, try to talk to them. Now, even your seniors don't know if their job will remain or not, right? So look at roles which require a lot of soft skills because, for example, sales, it is not going anywhere. AI
Hmm.
can't sell. It's a game of trust. But AI can do cold emailing. So, that's a part of the job that is now that will vanish. So, technical jobs like semiconductors, AI training will remain. Coding, high level coding will remain, but QA testing and all, it will go away.
Hmm.
You don't need testers now. AI will be able to test scenarios much, much more. AI governance is a good upcoming sector because you need people to set guardrails or towards your AI model so that it doesn't go haywire.
Right.
Regulatory jobs and all. So this will remain. These are mostly with regard to technical. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair assumption for any fresher applying for any job right now to imagine whether that job will exist after 5 years or not. If the answer is, and to answer that, you have to think like, does it require manual stuff to be done again and again, or does it require going, talking to people, building trust? If the answer is the second one, then yes, it will remain. If it is just the first one, then probably you should think about much more options. And in today's day and age, the sectors are new. AI is new,
Hmm.
semiconductor is new. So you will not have someone which has 50 years of experience in semiconductors. It is a new sector. So it doesn't matter. You can still probably take an additional certification, a course on semicon, and still venture into that industry because 10 years down the line, you will be the senior most in that. So it's a very good opportunity. Yeah.
So, as you also mentioned that there's a upcoming job for AI testers specifically. So,
Yes,
is there
yes.
any education background that's critical for that, or a student
No.
from any background can sort of get into this kind of role?
It can be any background. It is as, for example, it's a new, uh, for example, AI has a lot of use cases. Let's say you have a customer service bot, which is
Okay.
an AI talking to customers. Of course, it will make mistakes. So there are now AI is used to test AI models, right? Creating scenarios, but you still need a human to correct those, right? So, uh, analyzing those. So, prompt engineer is another big job, right? Now coding is now in natural language. Now you can talk to a bot or an LLM and tell them to do this. ChatGPT recently launched ChatGPT tasks, which
Hmm.
is like you can order GPT to, I come home at 7 o'clock. So by 8 o'clock, please call this person and ask them to wash my car, or by 9 o'clock, ask my maid to come in. By 10 o'clock, turn on the light. So now AI can do that for you,
Right.
automation. In fact, if you have noticed, from fridges to TVs to appliances, everything is now AI powered because smart appliances is an upcoming industry itself. So now when you have AI in everything, of course you need testing. Of course you need someone to manually test those models out or to figure out the gap. For example, our AI can't pronounce Gurgaon when it has to talk to a candidate. So it makes the mistake of saying it Gurgaon or something like that. But we have a manual person who corrects it and
Hmm.
puts the voice that, okay, say Gurgaon. So after a few times, it will improve, right? Now, this is a job. Prompt engineering is a job. So, yes, it doesn't require a background, but it requires logical reasoning. It requires data interpretation. It requires someone to be of a analytical ability. So these kind of skill sets, cognitive skill sets will still be in demand and
Hmm.
the jobs will change. Yeah.
So yeah, that being said, according to you, what should be certain key areas that freshers should focus on to stay more competitive and also improve their chances of getting.
I think it is much more imperative for everyone, specifically freshers, to be more aware now than ever. Like again, 5 years down the line, your aim should have been probably to get the highest placement in your college or to see where the seniors got placed, talk to them. network with them, and make a career path according to that. I think it has changed. I was the same person who used to give this advice that, okay, talk to them, figure out that, and all. Now it is important to be aware because 2 years down the line, the job that you are after, or the person who got the highest placement in your college, that job or a significant element of that. For example, I still believe research analyst job will not exist after 2 years. AI can do better research,
Hmm.
than any person out there. Uh, so that job will go. Plus, the new jobs that are coming, they don't require you to be technical. Prompt engineering, AI training, all these things. Having said that, it's important to be aware. So, what I suggest people, if you are in your second, third year, start looking at events in India, start looking at conferences. What are the conferences happening? What are the events happening? See what sectors the government or the world is pushing. For example, space is one big sector, right? SpaceX. So that is something that uh, space as a sector in India is having a lot of focus on green energy, sustainable energy, right?
Hmm.
That is one new sector coming up. So you need to start. One good way is see what kind of startups are getting funded in those sectors. Just open your story, see कि किस sector में क्या funding आ रही है. I think it's now for a fresher in 2025, it's important to identify the sector that you want to be a part of and figure out the job later
Hmm.
because the jobs will anyway change. So now is the chance to probably intern in those new sectors, figure out the mechanics of it, see whether that sector has a future for you, be it climate, be it semiconductors, be it AI, be it data science, whatever it is. Figure out whether that sector has a future, whether you see yourself in it, and then find out what kind of job role suits you, not the other way. And then there are evergreen sectors like photography, creative sectors. I don't think
Right.
they're going anywhere. But if you talk about white collar mainstream jobs, I think it's very important to now identify sectors rather than jobs.
Makes sense. That's actually a really great advice to focus on sectors first and then figure out what kind of job do you want to do. Which
Yes.
sort of makes what sort of job kind of student actually likes to do or wants to do, basis the sector
And
that
then
we do.
there are evergreen sectors also. For example, FMCG.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going anywhere. You'll still have a packet of cornflakes or a chips or a toilet cleaner, or you still need it, right? So companies like Reckitt or companies like HUL, they're
Mm.
not going anywhere. They are not disrupted by it. So either you choose sectors like that, which are not going anywhere, right? But usually we focus on consulting jobs. These are the Paynes and McKinseys and the BCGs and the
Right.
KPMGs. There you'll have to be careful now because the person Bain is paying 10 lakh or 12 lakh rupees to for doing basic research.
Mm.
Is that a job required after 2 years is something that you'll have to do. Consulting requires a lot of research. So therefore, the kind of jobs that come to North campuses and tier one colleges in India for non-tech, I'm again talking about non-tech, I'm not talking about tech.
Mm.
Technical jobs are different, but in non-tech specifically, you have to question yourself. I feel now rather than being a research analyst at a consulting company, it's better to be an AI trainer in a company which might be leveraging AI to reduce climate or carbon footprint because that has a brighter future, more stability and more growth and exponential growth. Because after being a research analyst, if 2 years after that the job is gone, then it will probably be a problem for you. Yeah.
Right. Makes sense now. You might have gone over thousands and thousands of resumes, right? And out of those, freshers could be a good amount of chunk from that. So, are
Hmm.
there any common mistakes that you see freshers, they make on resumes frequently, or even on their LinkedIn profiles, for a matter?
If you talk about that, there is an approach in resume screening which was taught to us, which is called the snapshot approach. Snapshot approach means the first one third part of your resume, if you divide it, if A4 sheet into three parts, it is the very critical part. So now when I talk about freshers, your resume is ideally one pager only, right? That's the definition of a resume. When you talk about senior roles, if I'm taking a interview of a 10-year, 15-year-old candidate, probably I'll have a CV with me which might have multiple pages. But if I'm talking about a resume, and I'm screening it, the first one third part has to have the most powerful stats and numbers, and
Mm.
it has to make an impact. If the first one third part talks about general stuff and the impact is towards the later half, no one is going to read it. I see resumes where people talk about their interests and hobbies and objectives. In the first one third
First.
part, it doesn't matter. No one cares about your objective. What cares is, can you demonstrate any whatever thing you're applying for, can do your interest, capabilities and suitabilities align to that? For example, if I'm applying to a job of investment banker or investment banking analyst, the first one third part should tell the reader that why am I interested in investment banking, have I done any internships, and have I performed successfully in those, right, to demonstrate my suitability. So this ICS framework was taught to us. The snapshot approach was taught to us. Uh, I particularly feel as we grow, the relevance of resume will anyway go down. Resume will still remain. I'm not saying resume is going anywhere. But the screenings will be done by AI. So the
Hmm.
resumes can now be customized and made by AI. Now you have a lot of almost seemingly perfect resumes that a lot of people send us. So the probability of someone making a mistake has drastically reduced.
Reduce.
These were the times when manual resumes were made. But still, yeah, I mean, even if it is made by AI, you can probably talk about emphasis in the first one third part. That is something that will help anyone out here.
That's really helpful for students. I feel. Now, I mean, can you share some of the latest AI-driven trends that are coming in recruitment?
You'll see a lot of AI interviews for sure. You will see, I still feel that AI screening is reality. So your resumes are probably being screened by AI. AI interviews, if they are happening at the client end, there might be tools out there, probably uh, once our model is trained enough, probably we'll launch something like that. And if you want, we can collaborate with you guys for freshers. Probably people can now also use AI to be prepped for interviews. So
Hmm.
AI can take their mock interviews right before the real interviews and give them a live experience. It's like a role play. So there will be much more scenario-based questions, scenario-based assessment, because now you see everyone writes everything in their resume and can answer it perfectly, but scenario-based assessments and SPTs are will become very popular. For example, if I have to test someone's leadership, I'll probably not rely on what's written in the resume. I'll give them scenarios and test it out.
Hmm.
So that is somewhere people should be mentally prepared, and AI can be used. For example, even if you ask ChatGPT, put your resume in, turn the voice mode on and ask the chat GPT to talk to you and take your SPT. That is something very helpful. So that is one more trend that will happen. Even the coding assessments and all now, I think it will be done using AI. There will be an AI person asking you to code and all. So yeah, I mean, these are some trends in the hiring things. The turnaround time for resumes will drastically reduce from a company point of view, because now AI can call thousands of candidates together. So probably, earlier, if I got a job rec, I will take 2 days, 3 days to understand it, source screen the profile and submit it back.
Hmm.
It might reduce to a couple of hours now. So that's like drastic change. That's a Delta 4 change, right? So that is something that companies will be very, very happy with. Which the implication from a candidate point of view is, you probably will start getting a lot of more interviews, because now a lot of more AIs will be able to reach out to you. So
Hmm.
your mm, chances of getting noticed are higher. So it's a good news for a lot of candidates in the future who are looking for lateral hiring. But yeah, I mean, these are some trends in hiring that I see personally so far. Remaining time will tell, But we are, like I said, at an inflection point here.
I mean, that's a really interesting point you mentioned, right? The chances of getting noticed
Yeah.
will increase because I feel that, recruiters also at times get tired of screening resumes, calling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of
And there are
course.
100% as there's a chance that, one or candidates might get missed by them,
Yeah.
right? So I think AI is definitely going
I
to
mean,
help
now
here a lot.
candidates can also leverage AI. There are a lot of tools out there which help you apply to multiple jobs, right? You don't have to
Hmm.
manually apply to LinkedIn for jobs. So there are tools which apply to thousands of jobs for you, right? At a single click. And the AI can fill out the application based on your resume and your answers. So the AI can probably act as your clone to be able to apply to multiple jobs. So
Hmm.
your reach, if utilized, of course, if you're a candidate still stuck in 2020, doing it manually, then God help you. But if you're someone who has transformed your or upskilled yourself, then you will be ahead of the curve, and of course you will probably start getting more calls of or interviews, and more AI calling you for your first level of screening. And that's where you'll probably be able to get more opportunities. So it's a good thing for candidates, but you again have to upskill. Like, that's one thing for sure. Yeah.
I think yes, that's very well said. So, would like to understand, like, whenever you are hiring any specific talent for suitable AI specifically, so what are the key skills or traits that you look out for?
It depends on the stage at which, or at for the role at which we are hiring for. In all honesty, when we started, we were looking at more generalistic folks who are individual contributors who can help us grow. Now, the stage we are in, we are still looking for individual contributors, but we are looking for very specific skill sets. For example, let's say we are hiring a particular customer success manager or someone in the sales team or tech team. So now the skill sets have become specific. But the one trait, and I think when we grow, we'll probably look for leadership and managerial traits more than IC. But one thing is definitely for sure that we are looking at someone who can have a demonstrated history of doing the job we want them to do. So
Hmm.
this is something a lot of candidates miss. For example, if you're interviewing someone in the sales role and the person does not have any targets on his mind or on his fingertips or the numbers they were able to achieve, it's a huge red flag, right? Whatever role which we hire for, we try to see a degree of concrete demonstration with confidence of the stuff that we want to do. So one hack is, if you are interviewing for any company, figure out what they actually want you to do there. Talk to some people in that company, see what how the team is structured, and probably in the first few minutes of your interaction with the interviewer, bring out that you have done that in the past and done it successfully. So this is something that we definitely look for. Apart from that, we look for extreme ownership. We look for people who are not afraid of taking ownership, again have experience and have single-handedly or driven that target or KPI, and yeah, positive attitude. Like, we don't like people who whine, or who are, again, we are looking for people who are courageous and having the courage to take challenges. So these are the three traits that we particularly look for. Remaining all things can be taught, I particularly feel. But again, it depends on job to job. So
Yeah,
for our company, these are the traits we look for. Yeah.
good to know that. So, I mean, that brings me to the next question, right? So, how important are soft skills versus technical skills, right, in today's hiring process? Is there a comparison that can be made, or both go hand in hand here?
I will say technical skills come second, uh, from from my perspective. Again, it depends on the company size. For a big company, probably where you are a part of a big company, you have a very specific technical task to do. Technical skills are very are number one priority. In soft skills, if you have to work on an individual role, no one cares about your soft skills. You can still outperform everyone technically. Both of them have their individual place. But if you're going for a company like ours, an early stage company, or a company which is wanting to grow exponentially, and it's not at the enterprise level, their
Hmm.
soft skills become important, because you have to communicate with a lot of stakeholders. You have to be able to communicate your targets to your team, to the clients, to everyone, right? So soft skills become important. Having said that, one very counterintuitive insight is, soft skill doesn't mean fluent English,
Yeah.
or even for that matter, confidence. It doesn't mean that. I have seen people who are not the most talkative people or the most fluent people, but they're diligent and their numbers outperform, and everyone likes them. By soft skills, I mean how easy you are to work with,
Hmm.
whether people around you enjoy working with you, whether if they have to, give you some comment or some feedback, whether they are able to give you, or whether you are able to give it to them. So this is what soft skill means for me. That's my definition of soft skill. and it is not just related to communication. Communication is one of the aspects, but if you are a people person who is very good in communication but is very difficult to work with, is lacking soft skills, right? So that is something what it boils down to. So yeah, both of them have their equal importance depending on the stage of the organization and the role you are getting hired for. Yeah.
That's actually really a great insight for anyone who is looking out for job, because most of the students, especially freshers, are not aware and they get confused over these things. So I think this will be really helpful for them whenever they're applying for any specific job,
Yeah,
and they'll
and soft skills
keep this
also
thing in
can be
mind.
demonstrated. For example, I once was interviewing someone. She had taken a lot of transfers. Her father was in the army, so she has changed like 10 schools in 11 or 12 years. And she demonstrated it saying that, hey, it means I'm adaptable to change. I can, my grades have not reduced, right? So while the communication was okay, but it demonstrated a great degree of adaptability and flexibility. So it's an example of soft skill. Let's say you are in your college and you are a member of the organization committee of an event, and you are able to raise a sponsorship or do something extraordinary where everyone is happy. Well, that's a very great example of a soft skill, a managerial trait. You can talk about that in your interview. Soft skills have to get noticed, but you have to tell in the interview that you are good at it.
Right.
And you have to actively demonstrate for the other person, because soft skill is a very subjective concept. So if you are talking about soft skills, if you and that comes from self actualization and awareness. If you are in your 20s or or late teens, you probably know what your soft skills are, what are your strengths and weaknesses. Technically, yes, you might take a few more years, but soft skills wise, you know already. So you have to play to your advantage in that, and you have to demonstrate in the interview that yes, I can confidently do this, and here are the examples of me being able to do that. Yeah.
I would just want to cover quickly, what are the importance of assessments when it comes to suitable AI, right? So why did you actually decide to integrate assessments into the recruitment process?
Like I said, it's a combination of a lot of things. Firstly, resumes are becoming near to perfect every day. So how do you separate uh, people who actually know it from people who have probably used an AI to improve their resume? So you need to assess them. Um Second is our business depends on us successfully placing a candidate, right? If we are able to do the entire thing and the candidate does not get placed, we make zero money and
Hmm.
everyone loses. So it is in our interest to send less number of candidates and to get money out of them than to send thousands of them and get money out of one. So
Hmm.
because everything has a cost, right? Even screening has a cost. So therefore, screening and assessments will have a greater role in the future. Like I said, if the candidates are utilizing, so if a candidate is using an AI to apply thousands of jobs, you get thousands of resumes for each job. How will you separate the candidate from the right one? You'll have to deploy assessments. Assessments are predominantly of few types. First is the resume assessment, that is the resume screening. Second is technical. Third is non-technical initial level of screening. And then sometimes in certain cases we have subject matter experts. For example, if we are hiring in medical devices, it is a highly regulated industry. Let's say you're hiring for a role of someone who wants to make IVD equipments, like lab equipment to for blood test machines, right? Now, the person should know the regulations in that area. So probably an AI is also not a good fit there. There you need a human being who
Hmm.
has been an expert in medical device regulations to interview that candidate. So it depends. So assessments, the degree of that also depends on the role. But it helps us to filter out the candidate, and clients love it because again, it is uh, kind of helping the client in getting the suitable candidate faster. So assessments will definitely play a major role. Yeah.
So, I mean, just want to understand, like, suitable AI as a platform. Do clients use it entirely for their end-to-end hiring process, or does it need a human intervention at any point of time?
No, no, it does need a human intervention. So it's a mix of human plus AI. We offer our platform to the clients, but we typically work as a service-enabled company where the
Okay.
clients tell us the job recs and we are able to source screen the candidates on the platform using AI. and then give them the final candidate for them to hire. So this is typically how the process works. So you can think of us like a tech-enabled TCS or an Infosys or an Accenture. So typically we follow the same model. Yeah.
All right. I mean, so it must be really helpful also, right? The assessments part to actually judge the intent of the candidate, right? How interesting or how much amount of interest are they showing for a particular job, or how desperately do they want to get hired, right? So I think that's again another good way for implementing
Yeah, yeah.
assessments.
Candidate engagement, even post offers, you have to engage with the candidates for a long time
Right.
to understand whether they're offer shopping or not. So those things are still there. But it's human nature. Sometimes I feel if I have gotten an opportunity, I will try to find a better opportunity always, right? So it is always in my interest to find out whether the candidate is actually looking. And sometimes we also are very honest to them that if you are looking for a better opportunity, most likely we will have it because we have a lot of clients in the same sector. So
Hmm.
tell it to us. We will find a replacement for you, send it to the client, and probably get you placed somewhere else. And it saves the time of the client as well. So yeah, again, human element is there. Therefore, the human element will always be there.
So, I mean, in your experience till now, how effective have the assessments been in identifying the right talent?
Assessments have been pretty effective. Fine in terms of filtering out the relevant talent from the irrelevant ones. I don't think any service company out there now can operate without successfully deploying assessments, right? So, assessment without assessments, I don't think you can anyway work now. But having said that, assessments are also evolving. Earlier, we just used to have a human talking, then we candidate started hacking it. Then now we have AI talking. Now probably there will be a day where candidate will hack that also. Then you will have something more advanced, right? So assessments also keep evolving, but I feel assessments have a huge future, and the types of jobs are changing. So the types of assessments will also change.
Hmm.
For example, there are new upcoming sectors where the information is so limited. For example, semiconductors, a new sector. How will you assess someone when you don't have so many people? So there is where AI will come in handy. So assessments are very critical, and assessments will become more critical going forward. Yeah.
So, would like to understand next is what were some of the unexpected challenges, like you could say, uh, you faced while integrating AI into suitable AI into the recruitment process.
Data. We needed a lot of data to train the model. So we typically, for the first few years, had to work like a traditional. We always wanted to build an AI model, right? But you can't build an AI model just coming in the sector new.
Hmm.
So we had to initially, for the first few years, had to work like a typical agency or a typical recruitment firm with humans and measure everything and record everything for us to be able to reach a stage where we are able to feed that data and make a model out of it. We Therefore, AI agents or AI is best developed by companies who are doing the same thing for the past few years rather than outside company and trying to disrupt the entire process, because the company that is doing it has a certain learning curve, right, of how the process actually works.
Hmm.
Similarly, for Suitable, what helped is, and this was the biggest challenge also, we could not have built an AI model without understanding the nuances of recruitment. And for that, we had to become a recruitment consulting first. So it was a painful journey, but it was a rewarding one because now we understand the insights, and now we can actually measure, like, we have actual numbers that earlier these many calls were made in a day, now these many calls are made.
Right.
Earlier these many questions were asked, now these many questions are asked. So we can actually demonstrate the delta, and still we know that humans are important at which way steps, so we are
Hmm.
not eliminating them out of it. So this, for example, a company, let's say, making an AI for testing out blood samples will be probably a company who has been doing blood tests for the past 10 years rather than an outside company because they already have the data, right? So an AI is as good as a model is as good as the data it is trained on.
Makes sense. So, how do you actually balance innovation with practicality whenever you are developing AI tools for recruitment?
You can't, we don't just transform everything overnight. It is not the way it is. So whenever we have to launch an update or whenever we have to, launch a particular process, which is now AI driven and earlier was human driven, first is to take every stakeholder who is getting affected or who will be actually using it into confidence.
Hmm.
We sit with them. Second is we plan our transitions. So whenever a transition is getting planned and we have to communicate that, hey, from starting this day, you will have to probably not call the candidates, but an AI will call and give you the summary. So there is a list of SOPs, standard operating processes, again, that we had set up when we were working as a consulting. So now we have a forecast that, okay, one day, let's say in February 25, this process will change. So you start training your team according to that from that day onwards. Second, we don't try to implement it on the entire team. We have a specific, let's say we first implement it with a bunch of team members who are, early adapters. We take the feedback, and once we are confident, then we slowly implement it. So taking everyone into account, planning it, and, transitioning in bits and pieces is something that has helped us tremendously. And if it actually works, then people all start demanding it on their own, right?
Hmm.
So the first set of team members who are actually using it, if their performance or their output or they are able to, generate more revenue or their targets are getting hit faster, ideally the remaining people should start demanding it.
Demanding it.
So, and again, this is one quality which we look for when you hire: is the person open to new technology changes, or is the person able to work in a dynamic environment? So this is again something that we look for. Yeah.
So moving on to the next segment, right? This is typically advice for students who are interested in AI or building a career in AI specifically, right? So I mean, in our conversation earlier, you did mention, staying updated with trends and getting certain certifications might be helpful. But apart from that, what do you feel, the students specifically should prioritize on if they want to get into AI?
Again, focus on the sector. AI will come in every sector.
Right.
There is not a single sector in India or globally where AI is not coming or is not, like, even in policing, CCTV cameras and all, computer vision, you can analyze a lot of activity. Every sector, public policy, government, non-government, from boring sectors like waste management to electricity to interesting sectors like, space and climate, everywhere AI will come. I think the only advice is to understand the sector first. Understand how the sector works, understand how the business works, and then try to figure out what sector you love, and then try to, intern with their AI team or try to contribute. Even if you're non-tech, you can still become an AI model trainer where you detect the inefficiencies of the AI. You can go into AI governance, where you work with regulatory bodies to make sure that your AI is in line with regulation. For example, AI calling in marketing is banned.
Hmm.
For example, you can't have AI calling you and selling you stuff. Otherwise, you will get thousands of calls every day.
Okay.
So this is a regulation, right? So, um, I think it's very important for freshers to, or students out there, to identify the sector they like and then try to figure out what kind, because AI will have both the jobs, tech and non-tech. So this is the only, logical advice that I have right now. Again, like I said, we are at a cusp. What type of jobs come, what type of jobs don't come, it will only time will tell. But yeah, now we can safely make a forecast that AI will come in every sector and AI will have both tech and non-tech jobs. So it's better to identify the sector you like. Yeah.
And if you could share like probably one tip that would instantly boost their chances of getting hired, right? So what would that tip be?
Read or read and communicate what the company wants uh, before they ask you for it. For example, if you are wanting to apply in Zomato, talk to people. What are the biggest challenges Zomato is facing? Is there any department which is struggling? You have to do your homework. If you are able, and then when you go for an interview or even when you reach out or write a mail, make sure you are able to communicate that. See, companies also want to hire. That's the basis of our business. That's
Right.
We also struggle. It's not that no one wants to hire out there. Everyone wants to hire, and team manpower is an important asset and a resource for any company. It's just that a lot of times we are not able to find what we are looking for. So if you are able to communicate that, hey, for example, let's talk about suitable. We have not done a lot of marketing, right? Marketing is one area where we are still struggling. We are not
Hmm.
getting time and all. If tomorrow I get an application of a candidate saying that, hey, I'm interested in marketing role versus someone saying that, hey, I noticed that your marketing is not up to the mark and there's a 5 point strategy on how you can improve it and I'm ready to do it for you. What mail will make a more impact on me? It will be the second one, right? So you have to demonstrate, you have to do some homework as to what the company is looking for, what that department is looking for, and be able to, actively communicate. So the only tip is read more, do your homework, and actively tell that this is how I will add value. Your value prop should be very important
Hmm.
for the company. Yeah.
So when it comes to recruitment agencies hiring for, let's say, or any specific tech role within the IT sector, right? So how a typical recruitment agency works is like the agency will screen 4 or 5 good set of candidates and then forward it to the client, and then the client will take forward the rest of the hiring process if they want to conduct any assessments over there. So whenever suitable AI is doing any hiring for such kind of role, do you also take assessments from the candidates? And again, the client will also
So
take certain number of.
typically, we work with clients and we handle their end-to-end process. So
Okay.
we handle their interviews also. So we are part of that process. See, candidate experience, candidates should also not be able to, face a situation where they're giving 5 rounds of assessments only. That should not happen. So typically, once again, it is evidence-based. So we don't say that, hey, this candidate is passed. We show the report,
Hmm.
we show the transcript, we show the voice recording that, hey, this is why we feel. And assessment is a cost for the client also. So if the client trusts us and is able to see the evidence, they will not go for an additional interview or an additional assessment. They'll directly probably schedule a final round and get the candidate hired. Plus, in a highly competitive market, the turnaround time from the time the candidate is approached to the time the final interview happens, if it is like 90 days, no candidate is going to stick around. So
Right.
it has to be less. So when we work with clients, we typically try to take the control of the entire interview process. Yeah.
So my final question to you, Nikhil, would be: where do you see suitable in the next 5 years, and how do you envision it continuing to impact the recruitment space?
Suitable should and hopefully will become a familiar name and probably one of the biggest names in the staff augmentation or recruitment domain in India. Probably because it is one of the first companies to leverage AI truly in its processes. So we probably will become the first AI-enabled, IT staffing company, you can say. Uh, our talent, our clientele, will probably be happy with us because we are giving them fast candidates with better quality and speed. And from our point of view, we'll probably have better margins in terms of our balance sheet, P&L,
Hmm.
because we will be able to achieve the same amount of output with a team of, let's say, 40 people, which a company would have achieved with a team of 400 because we are leveraging AI. So
Right.
our recruiter can do 10x more work, right? So mathematically, it should make sense. Like, let's say we are doing 20 crores of revenue a month, uh, or a company which is like 1,000 people is doing 20 crores of revenue a month. We should be able to do it with 100 people. So that will be maths. That will be maths aim from my point of view. And from a broader macro point of view, it will pave a way for a lot of companies to actually adopt AI in this domain and probably set a new benchmark in terms of turnaround time and shortlist rates and candidate experience. So it will probably set standards on how recruitment should and will be done in the future.
Great, great. It was lovely interacting with you, Nikhil. Had a really fun time chatting with you and understanding the nitty-gritties of AI within the recruitment space. And I'm sure students listening to this podcast would also would benefit from the kind of tips and advices that you gave them, right? So it was lovely interacting with you once again, Nikhil.
Sure, sure. And if you have any people who want to intern with us, we have internships open throughout the year in different domains, in different departments in the company. So if they are interested in future or AI or recruitment in general, uh, it's a very good chance, or sales for that matter, if they want to work on that. They can mail us at hr@suitable.ai. Our team will get in touch, and we'd love to have a few interns for our company as well. Yeah,
Absolutely,
and
would love
freshers
to
also.
collaborate.
We also hire freshers, by the way. So yeah,
Would love to then. Would love to collaborate with
okay,
you.
okay. Thank you, Arpit. Thanks for your time. Okay.
Thank you so much, Nikhil.